There might be trouble in paradise or whatever we're calling the situation currently in the White House. In his latest Beltway brief, Blaze Media senior politics editor Chris Bedford wrote that Joe Biden may be wavering on his support for Kamala Harris. And Chris joins us now. So how is Joe Biden undermining Kamala Harris right now?
I don't know so much. Joe Biden hasn't been very happy about Kamala Harris taking his job. That's been kind of clear. The whispers in Washington, D.C. for weeks and months now have been that he figures he's the person to have done the job. And it's actually looking like, well, he may not be vindicated on that point. He'll certainly be vindicated in his suspicions that Kamala Harris is able to defeat Donald Trump in this election. But over the last few weeks, we've really started to see that play out more publicly. First, it was kind of obvious when she just became VP that there was some enmity between them. He gave her some impossible jobs to tackle, like the border, and he boxed her out of conversations that she thought that she would be a part of. But now, these past couple of weeks, starting Friday, he's really begun to kind of seem like he's actively undermining her. If you look at, she held an important rally in Michigan on last Friday, where she was talking to union workers, and she's really struggling with union workers. And Joe Biden, who's basically been on vacation for weeks, decided to hold an impromptu press conference during that moment. Now, the issue was important. It was the hurricane response. But he doesn't do a lot of press conferences. And why did it need to be right then? CNN cut from going to the rally to covering the press conference instead. And during that press conference, he kind of undermined her narrative and said that he's actually been in close contact. When he was tweeting about it, my administration, not our administration, my administration has been in close contact with the Republican governors who are getting hit with this hurricane. Runs completely counter to what Kamala Harris was saying. You fast forward later in the week when she's doing her media blitz of strange things with all the different folks that she was talking to. He decides to do another press conference, a second. You don't get two back-to-back Joe Biden pressers like that. And he did it during her View debut when she was on there talking about her election and the things that she wanted to accomplish and how much she loved that Joe Biden. He was out there once again backing DeSantis and different Republican governors and not really trying to steal the limelight away from her, steal some of the press away from her. And it's certainly been noticed. And here's the funny thing. Every time he goes out and does this, Kamala Harris holds him tighter. Every time he goes out and undermines her publicly, she'll go on the air and say how tight they are. It's like an apology tour playing out in real time between a busted up couple, whereby last night, by the time she was wrapping up on Stephen Colbert, wherever she was, basically half of her monologue was eulogizing how great the still living president is. I just don't think that the White House itself is buying this.
Chris, this is one of my favorite moments of the entire, crazy news cycle we've been stuck in, because it really is. It's genuinely funny. At least it's amusing to me. You either laugh or cry, right? You either laugh or cry at this stuff. But just the DeSantis thing, right, where she's politicizing it, saying, DeSantis, I can't get a hold of him, won't take my calls, whatever. I mean, and then he's just saying, oh, yeah, DeSantis is great. We talked, everything's fine. I mean,
the administration's working with him.
yeah, it's good. It's all good. We have to enjoy it, savor it, really. And I will say the memes and cartoons have been very good on this. But we are less than 30 days from the fateful day, November 5th, 2024, in American history, a historic day. And we now have CNN pollsters saying things like, if the polls are as wrong as they were in 2020, this will be a Trump blowout. Certainly the last few days, you've seen a lot of people saying, internal polling shows very good things for Trump. What do you make of all this?
Yeah, and this week on the show, we've been talking about my prediction. Maybe I'm being too white-pilled here, that the floor is going to drop out from Kamala Harris. I got to put on my glasses for a second to read you a few things here. But I was looking through some polls just a moment ago. PX got now Donald Trump up 4 points in Michigan, and it's the latest thing they released. In 1 month alone, that is an 8-point swing. Quinnipiac has Rogers surging hard in Michigan also. It has him tied with the Democrat. That's a race that was 6 weeks ago just not even considered a possible win for Republicans. If you start to go through these Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Arizona, Georgia, he's leading now. Donald Trump's leading in the real clear politics averages. Some of the polls still have him a little bit behind in Pennsylvania, but nowhere near the levels that you saw previously with Joe Biden when he was winning. Basically, Donald Trump was within 1 or 2 points of Hillary Clinton, just a little bit behind, and he ended up winning. Donald Trump was being beaten in Pennsylvania and other places by around 9 points by Joe Biden, according to the polls, and he brought it down to within 2. So you see the trend here is that he always polls better than the pollsters are able to do or able to account for. And now they're showing him either ahead or just barely behind in these swing states. If trends continue, and there's nothing I've heard from any pollster anywhere that makes me really think that they've fixed their science. If these trends continue, this is very bad news for Kamala. And I guess it's why we're seeing her on Call Her Daddy.
Well, Professor Bedford, I am so thankful that you gave us the latest update. We always enjoy when you come on and give us this because you know what? Everybody needs to know what's happening out there. And I hope, though, that we're not setting up for another 2020 red wave. You know how that turned out.
Yeah, not that great. I'm usually a pessimist, I tell you, but as Matt said, there's a little bit of joy in the step these days, a little bit of Christmas in the breeze when you see these fights in these polls. The fun is back.